We're ready, guys? You're ready? Okay. Consolidated Commission on Utilities. It's a regular meeting. For the record, those present are myself, Commissioner Martinez, Commissioner Sanchez, and myself. Online, we have Commissioner Limchaco. Commissioner Santos is excused. First order of business is approval of minutes. And these are the minutes for, I'm sorry, Tuesday, August 23rd, 2022, correct?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, that's what's shown.
Okay, so is there a motion to approve?
I move to approve the minutes of Tuesday, August 23rd, Mr. Chairman.
Subject to written correction?
Subject to written correction.
Second.
There are three meetings, I know, this is the first one.
Okay.
Okay, so, Mike,
We're on the motion.
we're on the motion to approve the minutes for August 23rd, 2022. Any further discussion? None?
Nope.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
Aye.
Motion carries with 4 aye votes, including Commissioner Limchaco online.
Okay.
Okay? Next is the minutes for November 28, 2023.
Okay. I move to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Subject to
Subject to written correction. Sorry.
Second.
second. Any discussion, any questions? None?
None.
Okay. On the question, all those in favor of approving the motion to approve the minutes of November 28, 2023, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay.
Aye.
There are 4 aye votes, including Commissioner Limchaco online. The last one is January 23rd, 2024. Motion?
Move to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Second?
Second.
Subject to written correction?
Subject to written correction. Sorry,
Correction.
Mr. Chairman.
Any questions, any concerns, discussion? None? Okay, all those in favor of approving the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, nay.
Aye.
Motion carries with 4 aye votes, including Commissioner Chaco online. Thank you very much. We're going to go down now to, do we have any public comment? No. Okay, so going to our agenda, we'll just go straight to the resolutions, okay? The first resolution I see is GWA Resolution 10 FY 2024, which is relative to approval of the project to approve the procurement, design, build of the Upper Tumon campus improvements. Now, Commissioner Sanchez was not here. This deals with the rehabbing and modeling of the GWA facility
Main
up in
office.
Upper Tumon, and also the warehouses in the back, some of which were damaged in Mawa.
Okay.
And so we're going to also include some office space in those buildings, redo it. And so that's this project.
And how is it funded? How is it funded, Mr. Chairman?
Gilda? Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Jeanette, the AGME can respond. Sorry.
Okay.
Yes, it'll be funded by using both GWA bonds, internal funded CIP, as well as FEMA insurance grant reimbursement, and as well as our insurance reimbursement and FEMA.
How much do we get back from FEMA and insurance?
We have, luckily, as you know, with FEMA, you actually have to build the improvements and then submit the invoice. But we did provide an estimate, and the estimate of our damages are roughly less than $1 million. However, they know that it's our estimate, so based on what the actual market cost is to actually build it, that's what we will be submitting.
But
And I missed one more thing, I'm sorry, I just have to correct. Also included is some improvements to the lab. Okay, it's the building in Upper Tumon, the lab, and the warehouses in the back. And the lab improvements have to deal with air conditioning and,
Yes, the overall outside air unit, exhaust, and ventilation to provide indoor air quality that's suitable for meet the current standards for the laboratories.
But the bulk of the $8 million is going to come from bond proceeds that we have still available, still lying around? That's a popular phrase, this money
Yes.
just lying around.
Yes, it is.
Okay, that's good. Okay, but I mean, I was impressed by the size of the repair. It's an $8 million repair, and only 1 million potentially from FEMA, right? And the rest we take from bond proceeds that we didn't spend before that we're assigning to this project, right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? Commissioner Mtalco, do you have any questions?
No, I received the answers on the square footage that I asked during the working session, so
Okay.
no other questions for me.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve this resolution?
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve Resolution 10 FY 2024 relative to requesting the approval to proceed to procure, design, build GWA Upper 2 campus improvements estimated to be $8.248 million.
Second?
Second.
Second. Any further discussion? No further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Passes with 4 ayes, including Commissioner Mtalco, who is online. Okay, next resolution. Okay, the next resolution is the, 11-FY 2024. Now, this is the one that proposes to approve a capital projects plan, a capital financial plan, as well as a rate design that we discussed in the work session for the next 5 years, for our 5-year rate plan and our 5-year capital improvement plan. Anybody want to make a motion? Or
I'll go ahead. I'd like to make a motion to approve resolution number 11-FY 2024 relative to approving the 5-year financial plan and capital improvement program.
Okay. Is there a second to that motion?
Mr. Chair, I'll second it for purposes of discussion.
Okay,
Yes.
so there's a motion on the floor. Discussion.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So we recognize with that much work still remains to be done with GWA. We've spent the first 20 years spending about $1 billion with the first stipulated order. And for the public, stipulated order is the list of things that frankly should have been done long before the CCU was ever created, but wasn't. We then inherited that task, and in the past 20 years, we've raised $1 billion in borrowings, about 2/3 of that billion in borrowings, and another 1/3 through successful management, raising money from US EPA and grants, right? And so we've spent 20 years to spend the first billion. One of the challenges I have with this one is we're trying to compress the next billion. This is about 900 million. We're now trying to compress the next 900 million into a much shorter time frame than 20 years, right? I respect that, US EPA's got some pressure on us to do this. We want to do this, but as always, we live in a community that's not as well off as other places, and affordability becomes a real concern. And it was a real concern in the way we ended up financing the first $1 billion, the first consent decree list of projects. And as we've learned, projects will pop up that what we thought we had to do in 2005 wasn't the same list that we ended up finishing by 2020. Things emerged. And in this case, part of this $900 million is for PFAS. And Miguel, I think you're online. How much of the $900 million has to go dealing with these forever chemicals, PFAS, which has only been recently required by US EPA to deal with? How much of the $900 million is for PFAS?
My estimate at this point is roughly 23% of the total will go towards the treatment of emerging contaminants, to include PFAS, as well as other locally regulated contaminants for which we expect regulations to be promulgated in the next several months.
Okay, so it's not just PFAS. There are other contaminants that you in particular are aware that are going to be required for us to deal with in the water system and to protect the public by cleaning it up. And when you, I'm sorry,
Right.
I didn't quite hear, was that 23%, 25? I apologize, I missed the number a little bit. 23%?
Approximately 23%.
Okay, so a little less than 25% of this capital plan is to deal with contaminants that US EPA is now requiring us to deal with and remove to protect our public, right? And put another way, the rate increases that will be necessary to fund these types of projects, this capital plan, 25% of the rate increases is going to be used to pay for dealing with these contaminants, right? Okay, thank you, Miguel. So that's a big chunk of it. If we didn't have these contaminants, this would be a smaller borrowing, a smaller project. But no, Miguel couldn't do anything about it. This has been these are forever. The whole country is dealing with PFAS. I'm on the CUC in Saipan. We're dealing with the same issue, same attorneys, everybody's suing DuPont. Maybe we'll get some money back, but for now, we can't count on it. And that's why Miguel, I assume, has put it in the list, right? It has to be addressed. But 25% of this is just to deal with these emerging contaminants, the most of which is the PFAS issue facing the entire country. Then the rest of it has to do with one of the biggest complaints and one of our biggest concerns is water loss, right? Our water lines, right? So out of this 900 million, Miguel, how much of what percentage is going to deal with water loss?
So approximately 22 to 23% is allocated for water distribution improvements, the bulk of which will be line replacement projects to assist us with reducing the water losses.
Okay, so half of the money is for water loss and contaminants, right? Can you just in broad strokes, what is the other half of the 900 million going to be used to fix for our ratepayers?
So approximately 30% will be allocated towards wastewater collection system improvements that are a requirement under the recently filed partial consent decree.
Okay,
And
so
then
that's collection lines. That's what the layperson would call sewer lines, in particular, fixing leaking sewer lines.
it's not so much a matter of, or not solely a matter of leaking lines. It is also addressing capacity issues, undersized lines that may be fine, but they just need to be upgraded and expanded. It also includes, in addition to the gravity lines, it also includes force mains, sewer pump station force mains, and the sewer pump stations themselves, none of which have been addressed in prior compliance actions. The court order focused on other things, mostly the wastewater treatment plants and the production wells and water storage reservoirs. This compliance action is focused on the collection system to the tune of 30% of the proposed capital plan.
Okay. So an even bigger component is going to deal with the wastewater system and making sure that the wastewater we create as citizens and ratepayers flows safely to our wastewater treatment plants that have all been upgraded so that we can protect our aquifer and our ocean, right? The goal is to focus the 30% of this money on the collection of our wastewater sewage and making sure it goes to the right place, right? And
Right.
to protect the aquifer in the ocean. Okay, so,
Right.
and then the balance
the remaining-
go ahead. What's the balance
The
for?
remaining portion is allocated towards still required regular maintenance and rehabilitation and repair of our water storage facilities. Also addressing major equipment replacements for our wastewater treatment plants, most notably the Agatna wastewater treatment plant, and then advancing our SCADA systems across all of our facilities and establishing a greater amount of connectivity, which hopefully will reduce O&M costs and also assist us with the water loss control program. And then general plant improvements, which includes heavy equipment, light vehicle fleet, and other facility improvements for general facilities.
So Miguel, on ignoring, I mean, I appreciate some of this is going into equipment and stuff like that, but the bulk of this is going into fixing major infrastructure in the ground. But it's 800 to 900 million dollars. When you raise that amount of money, how fast can you build it? I mean, this is
Well, keep in
the
mind-
raising part of the project, right? You raise the money, then you put out the bids, you get a contract, and you start building things. How long will it take to construct this 800 to 900 million dollars in CapEx?
It will be obligated within the 5-year period, that the planning period. The construction will lag, obviously, depending on project execution. The one thing to note about the magnitude, you mentioned 20 years for the first billion, and you're compressing into 5 years the same amount. Keep in mind that construction costs have increased significantly, so you're not getting the same quote-unquote bang for the buck, and for the amount that we have presented in the 5-year plan does not necessarily reflect the same amount of work that was done with the first 20 years, just to your point about the comparison there.
No, I appreciate that, Miguel, but I would also note that income levels are very different today than they were over the last 20 years. But good point well made. I completely understand. I mean, my concerns are not with the necessity to build these projects. I totally agree that we need to complete these projects. I'm confident in your work, US EPA's work, that says, look, this has to get done. This should have been done a long time ago. It wasn't. We're here now. We got to deal with it, right? My only concern as I review this is not on completing the list of projects and your estimates. It is the rate of rate increases that have to be imposed upon ratepayers when they too have their challenges, right? In order for us to raise the funds to borrow this amount of money, right? And that's why when we were doing the first billion, and in 2008 we were supposed to borrow money, and Wall Street had its issue and nobody was borrowing any money. We then had to go back to the court and US EPA and said, look, the timeline's going to have to get stretched out. We couldn't borrow the money. And we began to work with that 4%. It's an unofficial rule. It's never been fully adopted by US EPA, but it's when you read the literature and you see it, US EPA still refers to the 4% of median income. And I think you verbalized it, and you've actually may have looked at that, but I want to make sure. But you also look at, okay, we need to build this, but if the people can't afford the pace of the rate increase, what we did convince the court to look at, and even US EPA eventually, was you can't price water beyond the reach of people just to complete the list, and we don't want to be in a position where Tan Maria can't afford the water rate in year 2028 or 2029, even though we need to complete the list. And what are we going to do? Turn off their water? I mean, we don't want to be put in that position where EPA's happy, but no one can afford the list, right? And that becomes my concern about when I look at the rate hikes and the source and use of funds, whether we could beat it up some more and bring down the level of rate increases, and maybe delay the borrowing a little bit. That's why I'd kind of like to see a better. Be involved with a better discussion, because even as you and Tolling have said, just getting it past us is probably the easier part. It's getting it past everybody else, right? And they're going to beat it up, and there's going to be back and forths. We don't always get what we want. I'm trying to tackle that ahead of time rather than later, because I anticipated we're going to have to wrestle through it. So that's just my personal concern as a commissioner, having been through this before, and now we're going through it again. I'm not surprised by it. I have a lot of confidence in Miguel's numbers, but I do worry about affordability for the average citizen and the businesses that, there's a lot of businesses that use water, including laundries, but hotels, tourism, right? And then the average citizen. I mean, the water bill, it was clearly underpriced and 20 years ago, but it's reaching a point now where all of us are looking at, wow, that's the new water rate, and now we want it to go up 40 or 50% over the next 5 years. In fact, Tolling, I was wondering, maybe you could take a look at how fast did rates go up when we started borrowing in 2005 through 2020? And then let's glue on these next 5 years. And because again, it shows us how fast rates went up for the first billion and how fast rates would go up for the second billion. And I'd like to look at that pace a little bit. That'd be one of my concerns before I give my complete support for the resolution. So those are that's some of my comments.
No, that's Mike. Commissioner Jocko, do you have anything to say?
Yeah, I raised the same concerns in the working session, and I had asked for information regarding, the adoption of the wage survey that Alan Searle did. Correct me if I'm wrong, Tolling, but on our working session, you had mentioned that it does incorporate the new wage survey.
Yes, sir. The migration is built into the salaries and wage projections.
Okay, and then I had asked for today's meeting if you can quantify the percentage. So Miguel's already explained, where roughly, the 250 percentiles contribute. But what percentage of the adoption of the new wage survey plan, how does that impact? What percentage is that overall of the rate increases?
I know Gilda and Yvonne were working on this. I don't know if they're in the room.
Gilda's in the room. Gilda, do you have an answer?
We're gonna defer this because we're still asking clarification from the consultant who's working on this.
Get a little closer to the mic and turn it on. No, just want to make sure she's heard.
I think we're still, we defer this, the response because we need some clarification from the consultant. The exact estimation for all the migration amount of migration versus the increases in total revenue.
Okay, I'm a little confused. I want to know, I think what Commissioner Mchalka wanted to ask, and what I want to know, in terms of the improvement in migration for pay to the 50 percentile, is what is that cost impact? There was a schedule that was done when that was presented. Are you aware of that?
Yes, sir.
So what's the total amount of that 5-year plan? Let's start there.
I believe that you have the schedule, Chris, right? It's about 3.7 million, and for 2020.
Huh? You have it, Chris? Do you have it with you? You remember it?
The schedule, for the original petition, it was about 7.6 million, with over the.
Oh, wait, Chris, you need a microphone.
I believe it was in the neighborhood of 7.6 million to go to
Over
the 50th.
5 years.
Over 5 years to the
Okay.
50th percentile. We are implementing, or we're requesting to implement in July, so the first year would be compressed down to about 360,000 versus the, I think it was 2-point-something million. So, but over the course,
Of the 5
salaries
years.
will increase roughly by about $7 million over
Per
the
year.
5 years.
No.
For the 5 years.
So
It will be done incrementally. So
No,
the
I
first-
understand that, so I just want to make sure, what's total payroll now?
Go to what's the total payroll?
The total payroll for this,
For GWA?
GWA is about
Annual.
23 million.
23 million. 23?
23 million
Okay, and 5 years from now, it'll be 30 million?
annual. That's,
My recollection is salaries and benefits, so the numbers.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah,
They're all
so
connected.
So I believe it's 40 million by the end of the 5-year period.
From 23 to 40 million?
Or 23 or 33?
Yeah, that can't be right.
No,
23 million as of, like.
Salaries and
22
benefits.
Yes,
Right
salaries
now.
and benefits.
Okay.
So then by 2024, it's gonna be like, about 25, salaries and benefits.
And what's it gonna be in
What's gonna
'29?
be a 5-year period,
Yeah.
Gilda, that's what we're asking.
That's what we're trying to figure out.
So, if, I don't know, maybe I'm simple, but if the increase over 5 years is 7 million, then isn't it 7 million plus the 23 million?
Well,
I don't know.
I'm with the chairman. That's why I asked.
Yeah, so if you look at Schedule A2,
Where is it? What page?
What page?
154,
Okay, go ahead and verbalize it.
under
Chris.
cash uses. So if you look at fiscal 2025, salaries and benefits, 33 million, ending in fiscal 2029 at 40,547,000.
Okay, one more time.
So it's gonna go from 33 to 40 million?
Correct.
Okay.
So current payroll is 33 million with benefits.
Benefits,
Okay.
okay.
Like the retirement benefit is 30%, right? There's nothing we can do about it, right? That's just GovGuam, right? Okay. But I say that because in the private sector, it's only 8%, right?
Yeah, well-
Just so the public knows,
But
right?
that's beyond our
But that's
control.
beyond our control, right? But right now, we go from 33 million a year to 40 million a year in 2029.
Correct.
So what
Okay.
is that percentage, Gilda? What is that percentage?
20% increase
20% increase over 5 years.
over 5 years.
Over 5 years.
Right.
So it's not 20% in 1 year, 20% increase in 5 years.
Right.
And
That's a simple math.
That's a simple math, and, you know, when you talk about this, because, I'm sorry, I really think that we have failed in moving on the migration. I mean, when I wasn't here when the resolution was passed, in I think 2006, right?
The one to go to try to get to 25 to
No,
the
to
20.
get to the 50%. There was a resolution that adopted going to 50th percentile, starting here and every year making a movement and ending up at 50%. I remember that resolution, okay? And we never made it.
Because over time, that's right,
Yeah.
the average wage across the country
Kept
went up
rising.
faster than GWA's wage.
Right, right. So I'm just saying,
Yep.
so for me, I wasn't here, I didn't vote on that resolution, but I like that resolution. I consider it an important thing, again, to attract,
And retain,
retain,
yep.
and build succession for our staff. So I think it's an important thing. And we never got to get to 50th percentile. So I think this is an effort that I encourage both GWA and GPA to do. Come up with a 5-year plan, not 1 year, not 1 year, but 5 years, and get to the 50th percentile. And this is a 20% increase, or simple math, over 5 years, that gets our people to the 50th percentile, a commitment that we made as a commission. Okay, and I support it. I wasn't here, but I support that. So I would tell you that, I just want to make that clear. I support this for the people we have working for us. You aren't here for the work session, but we lost so many, it was in the Post, we lost so many engineers, we've lost people to federal civil service, to the federal contractors, to the private sector. And so therefore, again, the goal was to attract, retain, and build succession, build people moving up, right? So I think that's an important thing. And I don't think that the proposal, I would hope that we didn't think the proposal was overly burdensome. In the grand scheme of things, 7 million out of our current revenue stream is around 120 million. So I mean, I don't think that's 6%. Yeah, when I look at, okay, if you have, I love the old ways. People used to say, 90 cents out of every dollar the government spends goes to payroll. But if you look at your cost, that's closer to 28 to 29% of every dollar. So 29 cents of every dollar goes to payroll. That's more in line with private enterprise, and you need to do it to attract your labor. We need technical labor. So I'm just saying, I just want to make sure, that's my 2 cents. I want to support that concept. I don't want us to look at this simply as, well, this is one penny. No, this is an important thing to do. Okay, next question. Go ahead.
Miguel and Talling, I'm looking at the first whereas, and I just want to make sure I'm following along. It's a 29% rate increase in 25, 12.5, 10, 10, and 10. So if I'm doing that right, that's a 61% rate increase over 5 years? Because I thought I read 50. Help me reconcile, the math is 61, unless the newspaper got it wrong or I misread it. But based on this resolution, it's a 61% rate increase over the next 5 years, correct? Cumulative.
That's correct for the cumulative amount. We did not have the numbers finalized when the media was asking specifically for the range, and the 50% was just an order of magnitude estimate of where the range might be. So the correct numbers are what's in front of you for the 5-year planning period.
Okay. So, and then, did I misunderstand you earlier in our conversation that even after a 61% rate increase over 5 years, the average water bill is still going to be below 4% of median income?
Water and sewer combined. Correct.
Sure. And did you provide that analysis anywhere? I'd love to look at it.
It's not part of the schedules, but I can provide the calculation.
Wow. Okay. I mean, I find that a little hard to believe, but I've been wrong many times. So, if you could provide that, regardless of what we do tonight, if you could provide that analysis,
sure.
I'd like to look at that. It just what is the average water usage now is 7,000 gallons a month for residential?
So that's not our average, I don't think. I think our average is closer to 5 kgals per month for approximately 50% of our residential customers. But the metric that you're talking about with the median household income that US EPA cites contemplates about 7,000 gallons in annual average household usage.
But I'm sorry, you said 5,000 is for half our customers? So what is our own number? Forget US EPA's number. If you take total water gallons delivered to residential customers and divided by residential customers, what's the average residential usage in gallons per month?
I'm sorry, Commissioner, I don't have that in front of me, but my recollection is that 50%, approximately 50% of our residential customers use less than 5,000 gallons a month. I think Gilda could probably confirm
And
that.
what do the other 50% use?
Different numbers.
Well, they're going to average into something.
All I remember is the
As I mentioned, I don't have that number in front of me.
Would it be safe to say that the other half is using more than 3,000 gallons a month?
I think it would be safe to say that our average is probably lower than the US EPA cited 7.5 kgals per month.
All right, more like 6-ish, something like that, 5 to 6, depending-ish. Okay. All right.
But my calculations of median household income are based on the 7,000 gallons. So even at that rate, which is higher than what I would say our average customers use, is below the 4% for combined water and wastewater.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Okay. So, okay. And then just so you can speak to it, there's about 115 million that you think you can fund out of cash flow, depending on the debt service coverage we are provided by the PUC, should they approve these rate hikes to some level, right? You're going to take 115 million out of cash flow instead of borrowing it. And can you talk about that a little bit? Why wouldn't you just borrow the whole thing? And why take it out of cash flow? And could rate increases be reduced if we didn't take it out of cash flow?
So An iterative analysis has been conducted to try and figure out the proposed funding sources in the for the capital improvement plan. And the balance that has been struck here is the minimum, it seeks to target the minimum amount of debt financing for the capital improvement program as possible, right? So we want to borrow as little as possible. With the amounts that are here, given what we are currently allowed to do under statute, which is straight revenue bonds and no short-term construction financing. So just given what we are currently allowed under law to do, the minimum amount of borrowing in order to strike the correct balance is $780 million in bonds over the next 5 years, with issuances in year 1, year 3, and year 5. With those levels of borrowing, the debt service coverage requirements under the indenture will dictate what the proposed rate increases are. So for that minimum amount of borrowing, the debt service coverage will requires the rate increases that we have proposed. With those rate increases, as a result of those rate increases, in order to maintain the debt service coverage, we will be generating revenues that exceed our O&M expenses. That's the whole point of the coverage. But in doing so, we have those excess revenues available to reinvest into the system, which accounts for, or which is represented by our use of funds or source of funds as internally funded CIP or revenue funding. And that generates so those rate increases generate sufficient revenues for us to pay out of our revenue stream $115 million towards the capital improvement program. If we didn't spend it on capital improvement programs, we would still generate the revenue based on the rate increases. If so, the concept, even though it's counterintuitive, the concept of not investing revenue money into capital improvement program and instead borrowing that amount only increases the debt service, increases the bond amount, which then increases the debt service, and by the debt service coverage ratio will further increase revenues. But so it's excess revenues that are generated, but it does not make sense to not invest it back into the capital improvement program. So you would be borrowing more, paying more, then as a result of the debt service coverage requirement, generating more revenues, but not spending those excess revenues. And that doesn't make any sense.
But if you had a lower rate increase, wouldn't that reduce that 115 million?
You won't have a lower rate increase.
What's that?
You will not have a lower rate increase by borrowing more. You will have a higher rate increase by borrowing more.
No. I'm saying debt service coverage throws off cash to the benefit of the authority. I understand that. And if I understand you correctly, that number is projected on your side to be 115 million. And because it's going to be there, instead of borrowing an extra 115, you want to use that 115. Am I understanding you correctly? Okay.
Correct.
So, and if you borrowed more, you would have, if you borrowed more, you'd actually throw off more cash from the debt service coverage. Correct. Right? So that's why, to me, you can manipulate the rate increase a little bit downward because it's throwing off cash from the debt service. Debt service coverage always throws off more cash. And we always get, our bonds require 1 1/4. For years, we were getting 1.5 coverage, 1.7. That's been shrunk by the PUC. We're not going to get that kind of number, but even at 1.5, as you're showing, it throws off cash, right? And so what I'd like us to take a look at is, if it's throwing off that much cash, what would happen if we had lower rate increases, right? Can we use that instead of for CapEx to lower some rate increases? And I want to kind of see that sensitivity analysis, and also to see if it's worth it. I mean, we may find out that changing this approach reduces Tan Maria's bill by 80 cents a month, then it's not going to be meaningful, right? If it reduces it by $10 a month, to some families, that's meaningful. And that's why I wanted to better understand your 115 million and how you thought about it.
I
So,
have
just
a
for
follow-up
the-
question, Miguel. Oh, I'm sorry, was that you, Mike?
No.
Oh, okay, I have a follow-up question to Commissioner Sanchez. I just want to clarify something. So if we borrowed more money, that would increase the debt service we would pay, because it's more borrowing, right? And that debt
Correct.
service would increase, the debt service coverage would increase the requirement for a rate increase, not reduce it.
That's,
Is that
that's
correct?
correct. That's
So
correct.
in other words, it works actually the opposite. If you're going to say, we're going to borrow 790, just so you said 800, and we want to say borrow 820, then that $20 million more in borrowing is going to increase the debt service, which with the debt service coverage is going to increase the rate increase. It works the opposite way. I'm asking, a question, maybe think about it that way. So follow me and you show me where I'm missing something maybe. But if you borrow 800 million and then you borrow 850 instead, your debt service on the 850 is going to be higher than the 800 million.
Correct.
And therefore, the debt service coverage requirement of 1.25 or whatever that
Whatever it is.
it is going to make you pay more.
We'll kick off more cash.
No.
Yeah, well-
No. Wait, let me finish. I want you to see my point. It's going to make you pay more for the debt, which means your rate increase has to go up to pay for that
That's right.
debt service coverage.
But when you apply the debt service coverage to the higher debt service, it also throws off more cash.
No.
And so
I understand.
the balancing act that I just want to think about, and Miguel and Tolling to think about, and all of us to think about is, can we play with that 115 million, which actually, if we borrowed more, it would actually be, debt service would go up, but the coverage for that debt service would go up. I mean,
goes up, right?
that's the oldest game, Joey, that's been going on since since we at the PUC set 1.75, which was more than 1.25 debt service coverage requirement. We gave the utilities even higher coverage, and it created higher cash flow, right? So yes, if you borrowed a little more, right, then it would increase your debt service, right? But when you apply the coverage to that higher debt service, it throws off more cash to pay for that, right?
Yeah, but
Because the other way I
If I
thought
could,
about
Mr.
it is,
Chair.
But wouldn't you, no, let me see, that's the
If I
problem
could,
I'm
Mr. Chair.
having. Wouldn't you then have to have a higher rate increase to pay for that higher debt service?
well, to me,
Yes.
yes in the beginning, but when I look at, we're still looking at 30-year debt, right, on the long term?
Yes.
Okay. So,
So if I
ahead,
could make a
Miguel.
point just about that, your prior comment about increased debt service coverage, the 1.75, I think is what you were referring to. Keep in mind that the CCU and PUC calculation for that higher debt service included the use of a reserve fund, which the increased rates, the excess revenues got sunk into a reserve fund, and that reserve fund was used to calculate that 1.75 according to CCU and PUC policy. The rest of the financial world does not calculate debt service coverage that way, and that's the reason why we align our calculation now to, if you recall, the way everybody else does it, and we reset the coverage targets to 1.5, which has been temporarily suspended to 1.3, right? So I just wanted to point out that 1.75 reference involved a reserve, which we no longer have and which we don't necessarily want to have.
no, I follow that, thank
Can I
you.
try one more time, because I'm still a little confused? See, I'm a little confused. If you borrow $800 million your debt service is gonna be some number. Gilda.
What is the number?
Give me, what is the number?
What is the
for
number when
800
we borrow?
If you borrowed 800 million,
I mean, that's our plan.
what's the number? Gilda?
In 5 years, what will be our debt
Gilda,
service?
you do this all the time. This is regular for you.
But currently, we borrowed them up to 670,000. Our current debt service is 29 million.
Okay, so 600, okay, Gilda, no problem. So $670 million,
It's 30
your
million
debt
a year.
service is $29 million. If we borrowed another 100 million on top of that, what would be your debt service?
Sir, if I could, the debt service is indicated on Schedule A2 of Attachment C.
Miguel, just a minute. Can I just finish with Gilda for a minute? Just a minute. Hold your thought. Gilda, if you had 670 million, you said 29 million?
Yes.
Okay, what if,
After all those refunding.
whatever, Gilda. So what is the debt service on 750 million?
It could add about 5.7 million a year.
Okay, 5.7 million a year. Where would we get that money? Would we not get it from rates?
From the rates.
Okay, so in other words,
That
it would
doesn't,
cost.
that doesn't make sense.
No.
It's 29 million on 670, and you're borrowing another 800 million, and its debt service is only gonna go up $5 million?
No. I
Doesn't
said
make sense.
No, I said 700. Wait. What number did I say, Gilda?
100.
100 above 670.
Oh, you're talking about the
Yeah,
115?
no, I'm just, that was my
You did
example.
talk about the 115.
Okay,
Got it.
so I'm saying if you had 670 and you borrowed another 100 million, your $29 million would go to,
30, additional it's 34.
it would go to.
An additional
up to-
5 million.
Yeah,
to
5
34.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay,
That makes
wait,
sense. That
no,
makes
no,
sense.
Can let me
Yeah,
finish?
that makes sense.
Okay, so it will go to 34,
29 million.
and would that mean that you would have a rate reduction or a rate increase?
Increase.
Gilda? You would have a rate increase.
From 39 million to 5 million is 44 million. Our current is 39 million.
Okay,
Plus 5 million, it's 44 million. So it will require additional rate increase.
to pay for it.
All right, okay.
So it wouldn't save you a rate reduction, it would cause a rate increase.
Rate increase.
That's what you're saying? Okay.
So let me ask you a different question. So, with this rate plan, Miguel, or whoever, what is the debt service coverage at the end of the 5 years?
Go to page 154. 154, Schedule A2, which Miguel was referring to. It
Thank
lines
you.
it out for every year.
Thank you, Michael, Mr.
The
Commissioner.
debt service is gonna be 84.6.
At the
Page
end of the 5-year,
154.
at the end of the
154?
5-year period, debt service coverage would be 1.5.
So, what would rates be if debt service coverage was only 1.35?
It would be lower, but the policy that has been set by the CCU and the PUC is the 1.5 target, and the 5-year plan proposes we take 5 years to get back to that target, primarily because in our ratings, credit ratings, the fact that we maintained only 1.3 coverage, which is so close to the 1.25, and that we had to use RSF funds to do it over the past several years, has reflected negatively on GWA's credit. And the goal in the next 5-year plan is to build us back up to the 1.5 target, which the PUC acknowledged at the FY24 true-up that they would like to see.
Miguel could, I'm sorry.
Okay. I'll answer the
So,
question.
so right now, the plan you have before us is 61% over 5 years. I'm just curious, just for analytics purposes, what if you ran a 40% rate increase over 5 years? What would the numbers look like? That would
What would you be able to borrow?
that would cut the rate increase by a third, right, from 60 to 40, just round numbers, right? I'm just curious, when we did that, if we did that analysis, how would it change the borrowing capability?
How much would you be able to borrow?
And you don't have to answer it tonight. That's why I'm.
Gilda can do this.
Well, can you do it? Can
Yeah,
you do
Gilda
that?
can do it.
I mean, she's got a back. She's got a back.
She and you always said you do rate.
Yeah, but
so
I don't.
Gilda.
Yeah, but we don't do it at the board meetings.
For this total, this request for 2025 to 29, the total is 71.5%, not 61.
I didn't hear that.
12.5 plus 10 plus 10 is 71.5, not 61.
Did I misadd it? So it's a 70, wait, but I thought, Miguel, I thought he confirmed 61. You're saying it's 71%?
71, 29 plus.
Yeah, it's 71%. You gotta add the 12.5% in the second year.
Oh, okay, so it's a 71% increase. Okay, so what would happen if we ran cut that by a third, that'd be 24. What would happen if it was a 45% rate increase? Can we run that scenario and see what it does to cash flow? With all the borrowing assumptions the same?
Okay, Gilda, remember, that's with all the borrowing assumptions. In other words, you're still gonna borrow 790 million. You're gonna cut the rate increase to 40%, right? That's what you said?
Cut it from 71 to 50.
Oh, I'm sorry, okay, 50, I thought I heard you say 40, my bad, my hearing's not good. I'm getting old.
Well, a fourth of 71 is 24, right? I mean, I'm just trying to keep it.
Just do a number, give her a number.
Well,
Give her- can
I
do
picked
it.
50.
50.
That's reducing it 30%. That's reducing the rate increase by 30% gets you from 71 to 50.
How much can you borrow?
What would that do to, because the other thing is, Miguel, just to think about, what if we borrowed some of the money in years 6 and 7 versus in years 1 through 5? We delay some of the borrowing. We push it back, because my sense of it still is, these are major improvements that are going to benefit people for 30, 40 years. But the burden is being felt more on current ratepayers than on future ratepayers. And if we can spread that out a little bit further with lower rate increases and still do it, even if it takes us a few years longer, I want to look at that, because that to me is also a scenario that, on behalf of the ratepayers, we need to think about it. You know, ratepayers don't have unlimited dollars either.
Okay, can I just ask for the answer to my question?
Oh, can you calculate it now?
Come on, Gilda, you can calculate it. If you lowered the rate increase.
She can't do the cash flows. Yeah, she has to do the cash flows.
Gilda, you've done this before. You're good at
Yes,
this.
but,
You do
but
the
I
rate
have to
increase
do
like
the
that.
calculations.
Take some
on that.
calculations.
Some calculations.
Well,
I
how long would it take you?
I don't wanna
We could recess.
estimate.
So, just if I could make a point with respect to reducing the overall rate increases to 50%. The biggest impact would be to our ability to borrow. So we would not be able to borrow the 780 million. So essentially what that means is we could reduce it to that amount. We could play with the debt service coverage. But essentially we would not have enough to finance the capital program. So something would have to drop off the list.
Or delayed, or you delay it. In other words, you borrow, instead of borrowing 800 million, 900 million in 5 years, you borrowed in 8 years, 9 years.
So, I would suggest that the analysis that you're suggesting is contemplating the same borrowing structure. And just to clarify, because of the way we procure, we have to have the funds in place before we procure. But when we go out for bonds, because we can only do long-term bond financing, we borrow the amounts we project we're going to need over the next several years up front, right? And that is the reason for the large upfront rate increases to cover the debt service for that bond borrowing. If the biggest impact to smoothing out these rate increases, if that is the goal, would be to implement alternative financing schemes such as the tax-exempt commercial paper, which we proposed in the last 5-year rate plan, that short-term borrowing to align the amounts we actually need to procure and execute the projects, and only pay interest on what we draw down and not the entire bond amount. That would have the largest single impact in smoothing out the rate increases, which we proposed in the prior 5-year rate plan. We have re-engaged our oversight chair at the legislature to include that in draft legislation, which we are hoping to get passed within this year. And that would have, give us the ability to reduce the proposed rate increase.
Well, then our goals are the same. We would all like to reduce the rate increase. But the challenge of tonight's resolution is it's saying go for 71%. Why don't we do the work to try to do 50% or whatever the number is, right? I mean, to me, so we borrow the money. So we borrow. The other way to do it is you borrow the money a little slower. We're still going to, instead of trying to cram 900 million in borrowings in 5 years, which was much faster than what we did in the first 20 years, cram it into 10 years instead of, I mean, right now we're cramming it into 5 years, and that's why it's a 71% cumulative rate increase. What if we borrowed the money slower and did the projects a little slower so that we keep it affordable for ratepayers, right?
Tax exempt commercial paper, the short-term borrowing would allow us to do that.
Well, then why don't we factor that into this analysis?
We have to present to the PUC what we can do under current statute. It doesn't mean that we can't change what ultimately gets done, but until we get the legislative authorization to implement that short-term borrowing solution, that alternative financing strategy,
Okay, but if we borrowed it slower and we still pursued these other strategies, that's still only to the benefit of the ratepayers and the utilities.
For everything that can be deferred, if you wanted to, for example, if you wanted to defer 25% of the capital improvement program and not do water loss right now, that's something that could be done. It's not a regulatory compliance item, but there are other things that we have to get done by regulation and by
Okay. All right. But then you do those first out of the monies you borrow, and you delay the other ones that aren't as critical or required till later. I mean, the concept of borrowing money slower is, I think everyone can understand that. We may need to build a house, but I might only be able to afford to build it this fast, so I only raise funds this fast, right? And I'm in my mind, I'm thinking about, we're borrowing all of this in 5 years. What would happen if we borrowed it in 8 years, 9 years, and push projects off? Would that be easier for ratepayers to handle a smaller rate increase than a larger rate increase? And we all said it's quite possible between us and the PUC, we're going to end up with a lower rate increase anyway. I'd like to try to do that work up front than what ended up happening. We asked for more and they said no.
That's right. Can I follow your question? Okay, so this is very interesting. So I guess we could do certain things that we don't have, that are not part of the regulatory scheme, right, Miguel? We could delay those. So, like, for example, replacing water lines and addressing our water loss. We could delay that. That's not a compliance issue, is it?
It is not a EPA or Guam EPA compliance issue at this point.
Okay,
but
no, that's all I want to know, because that's fine, so that our community will know that we're going to continue with high water loss. And of course, I would request that they don't make an issue of it anymore. They can't come to us and say, by the way, you have higher water loss. And then I have to say, but I want to raise the rates. And you don't want to raise the rates. So therefore, you're going to have to accept the high water loss. And nobody should complain about it, because we have a solution. We know what we need to do, but we want to take care of our ratepayers. And that's all right, as long as everybody is okay with the fact that we have to say we're going to continue to lose water 60%, whatever that number is, then that's going to be okay, because that will help our ratepayers pay their water bill. And it's okay to lose that water. Okay? Yeah, I'm just saying, isn't that not the truth? Am I right?
I don't know how people are going to react.
No,
They're
no,
going to
no,
react
no,
how
no,
they're
no,
going to
no,
react.
I'm not saying
You can ask them not to be mad, but my experience is they don't like it.
So they're
Whether
gonna
you ask
get-
them or not.
So you're going to get mad at us if we raise the rates, and they're gonna get mad at us if we don't address the water loss. But, you know.
But most of them would rather have the money in their wallet
Than the water loss.
and than the
Then
water
that's
loss.
fine. Then
Because,
let's do it that way.
Mr.
I'm
Chair,
all for that. I'm all for that.
We've had water losses, I mean, the
Yes,
other.
we have.
Yeah,
Yes, we
right,
have.
right, right.
But you
So,
wanna
so whether,
plan-
so whether we have water losses an extra 5 years in the whole
So
scheme of a
that's fine.
50-year plan
As
to
long
fix
as-
things, doesn't really amount to much.
That's fine, so.
You know, we
I'm
may have
okay
to
with
take a
that.
little more time to get.
I'm okay with that, as long as
Well,
everybody
then-
understands. we're
then
gonna
we
have-
can- then we can-
and I
We can
will tell
table
you-
this until we can
and I will
do the
tell you
lower
that
numbers.
In 5 years from now, we're gonna say that water loss can just stay for a little while longer, because we don't.
'Cause
wanna
we're
lose
fixing other
everything.
things.
We're fixing other things.
Yeah, there you
So-
go.
So, no problem.
Yeah.
So it's been with us for the past 30,
40 years,
50 years.
5 more years ain't gonna make a difference.
Another 10 or 15 or 20 years won't make a difference.
But,
There you go.
but,
There you
but,
go. No, no,
but,
that's okay.
but $30 a month over the next 5, that's $360 a year times 5 years, that's $1,800. That may mean something to a ratepayer. Maybe it doesn't mean anything to you, but it may mean something to the ratepayer. And I want to look at both sides. But key point, Miguel, how much of the 900 million is regulatory, and how much of the 900 million isn't regulatory?
As a rough approximation, give me a second. I'm gonna say about 30 or so percent, maybe 35% is not regulatory.
It's not compliant.
Okay. So 30, so theoretically, right?
And that includes the 23% for the water loss.
Okay. So theoretically, 30% of the projects on this list could be delayed a little bit, even though we may not like it. But in terms of affordability and helping our ratepayers deal with the part we have to fix, at least arguably, you could say, well, 30% of this 900 could be pushed off a little bit, right? I agree with the chairman. It may mean we have water loss a little bit longer, but we're dealing with the regulatory part, which is US EPA's. Remember, what's driving all of this is US EPA has given us a new list. And if we had our own list, we would think about financing it differently, right? Or we could. So that's why I'm thinking, Mr. Chair, in fairness to Miguel and Tolling and ourselves, let's table this. Let's deal with it Monday, Tuesday, as soon as they're back. But I'd like to see what would be the impact of, instead of a 70% rate increase, show us a 40 and a 50% rate increase, and what projects would be sacrificed. Focus on the regulatory up front, and as you've alluded to, you're right. Delay some of the others.
Oh, no, that's not what, that was
No,
not
no,
my
no.
idea. No, I
No,
wanna make
regulatory,
sure.
no, you said regulatory, water loss is not regulatory.
Right,
So
right, but I didn't
that's
say
an
that-
example of something to delay.
No, but I didn't say I was in favor of delaying. Let's
Okay.
be
but-
clear about
okay,
that, please.
okay. You don't want to delay, you want the
I don't
whole,
want to delay
you want the
it.
whole 71%, I get
Right,
it.
I do, because I want to fix it, because I'm tired of.
I want to fix it too, but I
people
don't.
telling me, hey, your water's leaking, stop it.
And so,
And I say, okay, we got to stop it.
Yeah.
But, so it's not my idea to delay.
Okay.
Let's make sure we're clear on that.
and it-
I'm not for delay,
and-
but I'm saying that if we do go down that road where we're going to delay it, then what we need to do is we need to say, fine, just as long as everybody's fine with this huge water loss, and nobody's going to complain about it anymore because it's what they want. Okay?
If I can make one clarification, sir.
Sure.
The question that was posed with regard to compliance, meaning US EPA or Guam EPA required, I answered that question. And I was trying to say that, and to clarify, that the water loss is not an environmental compliance or safe drinking water compliance issue, but it is an issue, and we are under orders from the Public Utilities Commission to report semi-annually on water loss, and there are ordering provisions which in the recent history of rate cases which require us to address and reduce water loss.
Okay. So if the
It
PUC
is
wants to
a
give it.
regulatory
Yeah, that's-
requirement under the Public Utilities.
That's perfect. So if the PUC, who wasn't as helpful to us before, if they want to be more helpful not going forward and give you that money for water loss because it bugs them, that's their call.
I'm with you.
Yeah, then maybe everything works out. Let's make it clear, no one in this room doesn't want to do the list. The only debate we're having is how fast we achieve the upgrade of this water and wastewater system, and we want to achieve it in a way that the ratepayers can best afford it, all right? And I say best afford means your rate's going up, but should it go up 71% in 5 years, 60% in 5 years, 50%, 40%? I think we owe the ratepayers some analytics about that to see, okay, management's proposed a 71% rate increase. We're elected by the ratepayers. And at least my position is, okay, great job, Miguel, Tolling, you've done a good job. What would the world look like if we only gave you a 50% rate increase and or a 40% rate increase? What do we give up? And the chairman is exactly right. One of the things we could give up is water law. We're going to have to give up something, right?
I'm not recommending it.
No, I know you're not, but you give a good example. You give a good example. If you borrow it slower, then you fix it slower. But your rate increase is also slower. And if it means your rate increase is spread out over 10 years instead of 5 years, 71% over 10 years is more palatable to the average citizen than 71% over 5 years, right?
Okay.
So I'd like to see that analysis brought to the full commission with everybody on Guam and Commissioner Santos being able to join us, and just to show that we did the due diligence. We looked at what would happen if it was a lower rate increase. What would we give up? What would be the risks? What would be when we look at the list of what we give up, are we willing to give that up? The chairman could be right. We might say, you know what, dang it, water loss, it's time to deal with it. But I'd like to see that analysis so we can make those kinds of decisions. I know when we make business decisions about large CapEx, we play around with, well, what happens if we delay it a little bit, right? Because we would have to raise prices to our customers to do it. That's where we're at. We're going to have to raise prices to our customers to fix the system that we all want to fix. The question now is, how fast do we raise those prices? Not if we're going to raise it, how fast do we raise it? Because the list is the list. And Miguel's given us all the warnings. Yeah, the list will also get a little more expensive over 10 years than over 5 years. But there's also, if you get population growth, if you get income growth, they can better afford it, right? Those are all intangibles that I know in all of our prior years of analyzing it, whether you and me sitting on the PUC or you and me sitting on the CCU, we've done those kinds of analytics. And Tolling and Miguel are the two best people to take a look at that and show us what the trade-offs are. This now is about trade-offs. Trading off lower rate increases to help ratepayers better afford it versus projects we would love to finish to fix the system. Life is trade-offs. No one gets everything they want.
Okay,
And so that's why I want to look at a lower rate
I
increase.
have one more question if you finish. Okay, I have Gilda. What again, if we went with the current rate, proposed rate increase, what would be the rate for the 3/4 inch residential 5,000 gallons? What would be that rate, what would be that payment for that amount? 5,000 gallons, right now, it costs so much. With the rate increase, what would that make it? You have a schedule here.
It's,
Okay, so go from what to what? I know you've got it. You're very good at it.
you just pull out the report.
Currently, it is,
Currently, it is $74.45 for
Okay.
a residential of 3,000 gallons.
3,000 gallons.
Yes.
Okay. And what would it go to?
It will go to $83.55.
$83?
$83.
83.
Yes,
Okay, it will go to 83.
yes.
So if I took minimum wage earner earning $9.50. The minimum wage right now in Guam is $9.50, right, Gilda? Okay, I took a minimum wage earner and I took out the Social Security and the FICA, okay? That would give me $8.54. FICA would be 57 cents. 13.4 cents. Social Security would be 57 cents. So if I took that out of then the 925, that would give me 8.54. Correct?
So from 950,
So Social Security taxes are 6.2% of the employee,
yes,
right?
yes.
And the Medicare is 1.45% of the employee wage. So 950
Times
times 6.2 would
times-
give you what? It would be
Times
0.57, right?
6.0600.
What's the number? Huh?
Mr. Chair, Mr. Chair, if I could ask, what is this exercise
I
for?
No, okay. A lot has been said about, the cost, the impact to the ratepayer. So I just would like to demonstrate an impact, if I may.
Well, I think, and I'm on the same page as Commissioner Sanchez, but I think what we're looking for is something more concrete, like the Schedule A2 that's on page 154
Okay.
with the new request for going from 71% rate increase down to 50%, right?
No,
I don't think Gilda's
I
gonna
know.
give us all these numbers in the A2 right now, is she?
No, Commissioner Chaco, all I'm trying to do is, I just want to say, given this proposed rate increase, the way it is, how long would a minimum wage earner have to work to pay his water bill? Just to show the impact to the ratepayer. That's all. And I'll use 5,000 gallons, 3,000, whatever gallons that somebody wants to use. I just would like to demonstrate what we're talking about, because we're talking in percentages. Percentages are very high. So if I may,
9.6 hours.
Wait. Who's talking?
Miguel, 9.6 hours.
A month?
No, for a month, yeah, 9.6 hours. In other words, he would work for 9 hours, 0.6 hours, to make the amount of money that this rate increase would cost him.
Okay.
So out of the whole month, he would work 9 hours, 9.6 hours, to earn enough money to pay for that new rate that Gilda just told us about. And
That doesn't sound right.
I'm looking at burden. Everybody's talking
That
about
might
what a
be
burden. And I'm
9.6 hours to pay the full bill,
Yes.
or just the delta?
No,
Just the full bill, the full bill.
the whole
That's
bill.
the full bill, so it's less for the delta.
Yeah, it would be less for the Delta.
I just, no, because sometimes when we talk about 30%, 40%, 70%, those are huge percentages. But what are we really talking about?
Is
And again, Gilda, you're going from what number again?
From $74
To
to $83.
$83. So to pay $83, how many hours would a minimum wage earner have to earn to pay his $83 water bill? And that is 9 hours, a little over 9 hours, out of the whole month. That's not even a week. Yeah, just an example, that's all, just an example.
So Gilda, the other analysis we could do is, how much will business water bills go up that will lead to higher prices charged by businesses to the community because of a higher water bill?
And that's a good, valid point. Listen, I'm not saying that there are not people like that. All I'm saying is we talk about a residential person. That's who we generally talk most about. And I know you will also talk about businesses, but I'm just giving you one example. I don't know what it would be like for a business, but it might be a good thing to look at, just to see.
Because I imagine every business that uses water, even little water, is gonna have to raise their prices to pay for a 71 or 61 or whatever number we end up getting. They're gonna have to pay for that rate increase, and that's gonna be reflected in bread, eggs, movie tickets. So it's not just the impact on the individual person's rates, it's what's the impact on the cost of living, that then we now have created inflation pressure, because we're gonna have to do something. When none of us are saying there's no increase, we're just debating the level of the increase and the pace of the increase, because it's gonna impact at the one level from the wage earner. It's also gonna impact prices that all the businesses that pay folks, right? They use water. Think of the hotels. They're gonna have to price it against tourists. They're gonna have to then, maybe they can't pay their employees as much because they gotta pay a higher water bill. So, I mean, the economic multiplier effect is beyond my examples and your
I
examples.
did not mean to denigrate all of those things. I meant simply to explain or to demonstrate for a ratepayer, a residential ratepayer, a person paying his water bill. Because we said that these people would say, I don't want an increase. And I'm just trying to show that one ratepayer, one minimum wage earner ratepayer, okay, would take 9 hours and 9.6 hours. A little over 1 day out of the month. That's all.
Yeah, so that's 108 hours, that's almost 3 weeks, so almost 1 month of their pay would go to
Out of
paying.
12 months, you mean?
Yeah,
Out
1
of
month
12
out,
months.
well, to some people, giving up 1 month of pay to pay for water is a big thing.
9 hours a month.
Yeah, to some people, that's a big
I'd
number.
like,
Okay, thank
I'd
you.
like-
That's
just like-
all. I'm sorry. Sorry to take up the time.
No, it's good discussion.
No, sorry.
Good
I-
analysis.
Just asking.
Okay.
again, I'd just like to
So,
point
Mr.
out
Chairman.
that we would still be under the 4% benchmark for utilities of the median household income.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
appreciate it.
So-
So, and if we went to a 50% rate increase, that also would be below the 4%. So that's why my leaning tonight is to table this and ask management to run a couple of scenarios for us. And let's tackle it next week, because we understand the time constraints. So that would be my suggestion is to table it and give Miguel and Tolling, they've heard us, they're very good, they've got a feel for the kinds of debate we're having. And I've picked a number out of the air, 50, what if it's instead of a 71, do a 50 and do a 40? And let's see what would happen with a lower rate increase. But we want to give Tolling and Miguel and the team time to calculate it. So my thinking is to make a motion to table this, let them get back here, and let's tackle this next week, because tonight was an excellent debate amongst us that represent the ratepayers about the pros, the cons, the what-ifs, and the sensitivity analysis. And our team leaders are refunding a bond for savings, which is going to help the rates, and get them back home. Commissioner Limtiaco, I think, can be back here. Maybe Commissioner Santos can be back here, and let's have the full body here. And let's table this till next week.
Okay. I need to.
Is that a motion?
No, wait.
Well, I'm willing to make a motion, Mr. Chairman.
We still have a
because
motion,
we have
so
a
how we're
motion
gonna
on the
address
floor.
that?
So
Oh,
I need
okay.
to add, just a minute, folks.
Oh, wait, and who, okay,
Yeah,
you made the motion. right?
Yeah, you made the motion. Okay, you made the motion.
Okay.
So wait,
No. The motion is to consider this resolution, correct?
Yes.
Okay. I would like to make a motion to table our consideration of this resolution and pick it up next week at a date to be determined by,
Could I-
should this motion pass. I'd like to make that motion.
Could our.
If I can get a
our-
second?
I think we
No,
better
no.
get a Robert Rules of
Can
Order
I
first on the,
get the lawyer to tell me what we have to do first?
To
When you have a motion,
withdraw
because.
my motion.
Because.
Well,
you
motion
have-
to approve,
No,
we're not,
wait.
we haven't decided to approve or not approve it.
I know,
I'm just
but there-
motioning to table it.
No.
And so we can get more information.
Can we please just make sure we're operating under Robert's rules? which
Can I
is
make
part-
that motion, counsel?
Let's hear from her.
Best thing to do would be to amend the existing motion. The existing motion was a motion to approve, I think, GWA Resolution 11, made by Commissioner Martinez.
Either that or withdraw the
Yeah.
motion and then make a new motion?
Okay, you want?
Robert?
Yeah, let's
No,
just
no, I'm-
withdraw, can we withdraw the motion?
That's Robert's
And
rule.
entirely, second by,
Yeah, it was seconded by me for discussion purposes.
and then, Simon or myself can come out
Somebody
as
can
the.
make any
No,
motion.
we
So can I
wanna
make a motion to
delay.
withdraw the motion that we are working on?
Who
That's
makes
why I
the
thought,
motion to
we could just,
withdraw?
anybody, well, one of us has to make the motion.
Usually, the mover is the one, right, who says, I wish to withdraw my motion? I don't know.
Is that easier? Is that easier?
To withdraw the motion?
Yeah.
I think it's easier to amend it, because we don't want to vote on it, want to table it, or we can just, I think you can keep the existing motion and then come
Move to
back.
recess?
Right, yes.
Okay.
On this
I'm just not doing.
point.
And, yeah, there you go,
That's fine.
okay.
Let me ask you, that's fine.
Okay, well, we ended up in the same pew, good. So I moved to recess,
Wait, we have other issues from GPA.
no. I
No,
was
no.
gonna move to recess discussion of this motion until, yes, I can make that motion, right?
No, you have to make a motion to recess the meeting.
No, I don't. I'm just recessing this.
No,
I think it's just to recess the discussion on this
Yes,
motion.
that's
I
it.
don't think you can make a motion
Well,
to recess.
counsel,
to-
can
to
we or can't we?
recess. A recess motion is to recess a meeting. Or, yeah, you're in the process of having a meeting, and you're recessing the meeting.
Call it table the discussion. I mean, you gotta be able to stop discussing if you don't wanna finish it.
Yeah, you can
Mr.
just-
Chairman,
Yes, go ahead.
Mr. Chair, do you
Go ahead.
accept the
can I,
table?
and council, I'd like to ask the commissioners now that I will like to withdraw my motion on this particular resolution, which is,
And I second it.
Okay, I think that resolves the issue.
Okay, there you go.
So there's a motion to withdraw your motion,
yes,
I second
seconded
it.
by the person who seconded the original motion anyway. Okay?
Okay.
So.
go for the,
Any
call for the
discussion?
vote.
on-
Any,
Ready to
does
vote?
anybody have anything else to say? Michael, I'm sorry?
No,
Okay. No further.
I don't have
discussion?
anything to add,
Huh?
sir.
Pardon? I'm
I
sorry.
said I do not have anything to add, sir.
Okay, so on that motion to withdraw, duly moved and seconded, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Nay.
Okay.
Okay, 3 ayes and 1 nay.
Motion.
Motion carries.
Mr.
Okay.
Chairman,
Yes.
I make a motion to recess this meeting?
No,
Oh, I'm sorry.
No,
Oh, no, we just
We
move
saw
on to the
GPA.
rest of the
Yes,
agenda.
move on to the rest
Okay,
of the
we're good.
agenda.
Never mind.
okay.
Never mind, my
We
bad.
have other things to do.
Let's do that.
Okay.
Okay, let's go.
Can you let me do, okay. No, just let me do the procedure part here.
okay, next item.
Yeah, I'm going back into my computer because I got kicked out. Come on, sign in. I'm sorry, I have to get back to
But,
my
Mr. Chairman, quick
my
question.
computer.
Quick question. While you're getting back, so he's removed his motion, right? But I still would like management to run a
Agenda.
We're still on the
50%.
agenda.
That,
No,
that is still on the
That's
agenda,
still
I
on
just
the
withdrew
agenda.
that.
It doesn't-
Correct.
it doesn't say-
But in the discussion, there was a discussion, before we tabled it, in effect, right? There was a discussion of looking at different rate scenarios.
Yes.
And I'd like management to be able to run a 50 and a 40% rate increase scenario instead of a 71, and show us the impacts and what would get delayed. So does that require a motion, or is it okay with the body? That was in the discussion.
Yeah, that was in the discussion.
That will
I think-
help us resolve,
I-
because that's why we're tabling it, is where,
I think they got it.
okay?
Miguel, you and Tulling understand what the commission would like to hear, right? When you get back.
Run
If
a-
we recess this meeting, because we still have to make a motion to recess. If we recess, that's what they're asking for. You don't have a problem, right? I mean, you have a problem, but.
You may have a problem,
You may have a problem, but that's life,
But he's still coming home.
yeah, okay? I didn't hear anything.
Just
so-
remember Monday's a holiday.
Okay, we'll remember that. Okay.
For the government? Another one? What is
Okay.
it? What's Monday?
P-
Oh.
Tomorrow
Oh, it's tomorrow.
Heritage.
Oh, no, we gotta take that holiday.
Okay, wait a minute. Okay, please, back to order. So now, moving along, we have one more GWA resolution. It's Resolution 12-FY 2024, relative to the recommendation to establish a new Article 9 within 28 GAR Chapter 2 for the Guam Water Works Sewer Hookup Revolving Loan Fund. Who wants to take a stab at this?
So moved.
Go ahead. Oh, you just want to make a motion?
Don't you need a motion to approve it?
Yes.
Yeah. So
Okay.
moved. I said so
Motion
moved.
to approve,
Second.
second by
Second.
Commissioner Chaco.
Michael, yeah.
Any further discussion? Mike? Any further
No.
discussion? No? Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay?
Aye.
Motion carries with 4 votes. Moving right along. It's like herding cats. John, you only have one motion, right? John? You have one motion? That I see. FY
One
2024
resolution.
Oh, John, you can do that for us later. First, do this resolution.
Let's just do
What is the resolution? Can we have a 5-minute recess while they set up?
Oh, Francisco.
5-minute recess. We're back in session after that short recess. I needed to use bathroom. Okay, John, you're up. And the resolution you need approved is?
First of all, just GPA resolution FY 2024-17 relative to the ECA. I will table that, Mr. Chair, until next month. We're still finalizing the
Resolution 2024-18?
17.
17, no,
Yeah.
I didn't call for that. I
No,
called-
just for the record.
Okay.
Tabling it to next
Okay,
month.
no problem.
This is where we're trying to approve for September 30 the commissioning of the
Of the what?
Okudo.
Okay.
Resolution FY 2024-18, that's relative to authorizing the funding of 2014 revenue bonds, and I would like to turn that over to Mr. Kim. And basically, it's about John 65.79 million that we're looking to refinance. Looking at the numbers, is looking at dropping the debt annual debt service. An annual debt service reduction of $302,000. May not sound very much, but it is $302,000.
You're trying to save money, John.
It is within the law about the net present value savings percentage, and the process is such that the CCU approves, then we have to get the legislature to approve, and then the PUC. So
John,
that in
I
a
want to make a
nutshell.
statement that GPA is doing a great job. Since 2013, we haven't raised the base rate. 11 years later, we haven't raised the base rate. You keep saving money. Thank you. For the ratepayers of Guam, thank you. Don't raise that base rate. Don't ever raise it.
That's
And I want to make sure Fred Harecki out there in the public hears, because I told him, and when was that, John, 2015? When I said we're not going to raise the base rate?
That's correct.
And
That's
I
the,
know what I'm doing, and we haven't raised the base rate. Thank you very much. Okay, go ahead, John.
So John, you want to add anything else to it? I think this was discussed at the work session.
Yeah,
and it-
okay. Commissioner Sanchez, you have a question?
No, did we approve the resolution?
Not yet.
No.
Go for the vote.
No, there's no motion yet.
I was going to make the motion to approve the
Okay,
resolution.
sure, yeah.
I move to approve resolution 2418 relative to the approval of bond issuance to refund outstanding revenue bonds, so we can have the same discussion about rates.
Okay.
Second.
Second, Commissioner Martinez. I didn't hear you.
Give it to Mike. Mike.
Did you also want to
I second it as well.
Okay,
Doesn't matter.
okay,
Second by Mike.
okay. Further discussion. Anybody have a discussion? Any questions? None?
No
Call for the
questions.
question? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. I heard, Michael, you are an aye on the, I heard you say aye. So it's
Yes.
4 votes.
I said
four
aye.
Okay, 4 aye votes, unanimous. Thank you very much. John, what else?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Normally, I don't go through the GM report, just one, but I do want to highlight one point of it, Mr. Chair.
Sure.
Of course, part of the regular reporting is the capacity recovery plan, so that we can have power during the summer. And one of the key issues, of course, is temporary power. We have gone through the process. An emergency procurement process, and we do have Agreco, 20 megawatts ready to contract with us. Unfortunately, going through the whole process, there is some provision in the language of the law that limits the emergency procurement to 60 to 90 days. But in the power industry, an emergency doesn't just last that particular, right? So therefore, the Greco contract is for a base rate, a base case of 2 years with 3 optional 1-year period. I don't think we're going to need right now. I can sincerely say I don't believe we need the optional years, although we always have it in case, right? Challenges are here. We do need the base rate case, because that will bring now, if we get this thing on the line in May of 2024, that will bring the capacity 2 years later to May of 2026. Okudo comes on the line on commissioning in September of 2025. we basically have that 6-month period for any other issues, and therefore we should be okay with the capacity.
That's 20 megawatts, right, John?
That's 20 megawatts, and 20 megawatts is a lot when we're, it's the last few customers that are always the same ones that are hurting. No?
Now,
So
John-
again, so we've reached out to the legislature, and I've given a copy to the commission. I wrote everyone, including the governor, lieutenant governor, the speaker, of course, and all the other senators. I need their help. At this point in time, we're ready to award this contract. PUC will be considering it this Thursday, and I believe they will approve the contract, maybe condition upon the legislation being satisfied. We're not asking for much really on this. Is really one, allow us from 90 days to a more 2-year period, and we've shown that we can get out of this. No. Secondly, okay, there is a protest. Still continue with the protest process and review and do everything, but allow us to continue with the work and get it done.
Is there a current protest on this, John?
No, if there is a protest.
You're asking
Yeah.
that be part of
Yeah,
the
right
law?
now we're trying to think everything within the box that
You're just asking that be part of the law.
Then the third, of course, getting reviews and everyone's review is necessary as quick as possible, because what I am getting anxious about is the Agreco now. They have these generators that they can roll out to other customers. No, so they're reserving some generators for us now. And the longer we takes, they could, remember, they were asking for a 5-year contract. We brought it down to 2 years. So there are some, I could understand some concern on their case. So again, I can't do anything more except get this done. Otherwise, we start all over again, and we'll have to look at other alternatives. But of course, only one bidder came in to do it within 100 days, so we can still get it done. I believe around the May time frame, no? If we get this going.
So the bill's already introduced in the legislature?
The ladies did speak to the speaker this morning, because I asked for an appointment to talk to her. Senator Parkinson did also request for an emergency session. Then I talked to her about it, and she's thinking about maybe next week on the 6th, asking whether maybe the 18th would have been okay, but I'm saying we really need it as quickly as possible. So I'm waiting. She said she will most likely confirm that back, but hopefully they can meet on the 6th and we can get this going. But legal counsel, the governor, is saying that we have to change that 60 to 90 days. It's very specific. So therefore, then they can recommend to the government to sign.
And as you said, it's a small change and it's a one-time change.
Yes,
one time. Suggested to some center, just limit it to this transaction.
Yeah.
We're not,
And some of and we tailored from the public hearing, my understanding from the team, these are some of the conditions that were being thrown around. So we tried to satisfy that, tried to alleviate that concern by the new bill, the revised bill that is before the Senate. So I asked, please, we need to get this done. I can't do anything more. And starting all over again, oh my God. I'm still going to have the same issues, no?
Well, John, on the plus side, when do you expect Jigo to come online?
Okay, Jigo CT is going to be here probably by the end of March.
Okay.
So I think it's going to come on the line maybe around the middle of April. I tried to look at air freighting it, but too many.
John, you're doing the best job.
Yeah, too many concerns.
I have no complaints.
So
I
now,
just wanted to ask for our public to understand that not only are you working on this one, but you're almost there with the 20 megawatt Jigo combustion turbine.
That's right. And the other part of about this temporary power is there's some assistance that will be provided by Greco in repairing some of the other units up in Jigo. So really, that's a third. This is 20, but potentially repairing another 14. So that's 34 plus the 20 in Jigo. That's 54 megawatts that we can have by May.
With the repair that Agreco's proposing, right?
Yeah. You know, John, I tell you that I hope, wish you luck. We lost out one time before when we asked the legislature to approve a law by March 31st, where we were going to get about 45, was it 45?
41 megawatts.
41 megawatts down at Cabras, if they would just approve the law to change the boundary. I don't know if you commissioners remember that. We asked them to approve a law by March 31st, and Gpwa was going to put that in at no cost to the ratepayer. The law didn't get passed until April, and because of that, the contractor said, give me another $50 million, which of course we don't want to raise the base rate, so we said no. Too bad. So I hope that you're more successful with this one.
But
Because you did a great job that last time.
there was one other one, Mr. Chair, just for the record, so that I think really they really have to look at the procurement, and I keep saying this
No,
myself,
we agree.
right? If you recall what we were gonna do for in the military base, 164 acres was gonna provide renewables, including batteries.
To shift tonight.
100% shifting, that would have been 50 megawatts that we could have shaved the peak. That went through a 2-year process and eventually failed.
At
That
12 and a half cents.
just, 11 and a half. Mr.
11
Chair.
and a half, even better.
Just that one thing cost the ratepayers over $100 million, and I keep saying this. So this is not the first time, this is not the second time, but where it could be in the heading to the third time.
Okay.
Or, I mean, of
Hopefully not.
major concern. So
Hopefully not.
no, and I think maybe perhaps it will go through this. All I know is
You're
you know,
trying your best.
I'm
And we
trying my
thank you.
best. We're constrained, and I mean, that's all. I can't say any more than that, Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
So.
No, John, you're trying your best, and hey, all we can do is try and ask, but you get what you get. Too bad. Too bad, because the ratepayers are the ones that suffer.
Yes.
My house goes dark when we lose power. I don't have power.
And again,
But that's okay.
and again, Mr. Chair, really in consideration that most of the people that get through the load shedding really are, there's still 49 circuits.
Yeah.
There still impacts everyone.
Yes.
But,
It
we're,
impacts me, John.
yeah, but it gets so, we're not, for example, we're trying to minimize the impact on the island, but then
Thank
there
you.
are a lot
Thank
that
you.
are suffering from this, and we also said this is going to cost about 24 million over 2 years.
Yeah.
We said our financial plan on this is we're not increasing the rate. We're going to
Right.
absorb the
No,
12
no.
million per year
Yeah.
without increasing the rate. So really, there's no.
But
they-
imagine if
yeah.
you have the 41 megawatts of Cabras for the next 25 years at no cost, no increase to the rate. What a deal. Too bad. We couldn't get it through the legislature. Didn't get passed on March 31st. We told them we needed that. They didn't do it. That's okay. Okay.
So
Okay,
that's all.
anything
I
else?
just wanted to give the commission an
you.
update. And
Thank you.
again, if you
Good
can
luck.
help appeal to others
Good
to help on this, I
I'm gonna say a
appreciate
prayer.
it. Yeah. That's all I have, Mr. Chair, for today.
Thank you. We do have an executive session tonight. So that's it, right? You're done, John?
Yes, Mr.
Okay, so we'll have a 5-minute recess to set up for the exec. I need a motion to rise up from regular session and go into executive session.
So moved.
So move second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
4 ayes. Short recess. executive session. Teresa, the floor is you and Tom Cruise. I'm sorry. Yeah, what's up? We're back in open session. Is there a motion to recess this meeting?
What's the date?
And what's the date?
Mr. Chair, Commissioners,
What?
I apologize, may I be heard? This is to recess so we can continue the discussion on the
resolution.
Resolution 11. Right now, the PUC does have an order for GWA to submit an advanced draft filing on Tuesday. Well, the order is for March 4th, but of course, the filing will be made on Tuesday because Monday's a holiday. So I just wanted to mention that. We are requesting, management is requesting to try and meet this week, sometime in the morning, to address the questions.
When does Miguel come back?
He doesn't come back until next week.
Okay,
But-
so.
But he did say that he would be willing to log in or call in again.
And we could go in the morning?
On a morning.
When's the closing? Thursday morning, New York time, right?
That's what he mentioned.
All right, so which is Friday,
Which is,
Thursday night our time, right?
no,
He said,
no.
Add 10, subtract a day.
I mean,
Thursday,
add-
subtract 10, decide Friday morning.
It's Friday morning for us.
Their Thursday morning is our Friday, we're starting our Friday, more or less. When it's 10 o'clock in New York, on Thursday, it's midnight here,
Yeah.
Friday, right?
10 hours difference, so
Right.
9 hours.
So the idea would be to meet Friday? Would that be one of the ideas? Would that be helpful to Miguel?
Michael, when do you get back to
Oh, yeah.
Guam?
Mike, what's
Let's find out.
I come back this Saturday, so I'm there all next week. No issue.
Pardon?
I said I come back this Saturday.
Okay. So you won't be here if we have to recess the meeting.
How about meeting on, you wanna meet on the holiday? It's okay with me.
Miguel says he's fine to meet Sunday or Monday, and I
Are
believe he
you
will
okay
be.
meeting on the morning
Monday?
of
On
Monday? Oh, no, I have a
Yeah.
dental appointment.
How about afternoon?
Yeah, we can make it afternoon.
Can you meet Monday afternoon, Michael?
Michael?
At 5 o'clock?
A little
5 o'clock
earlier?
in the afternoon? I have another meeting in the afternoon.
You have a what?
He's tired.
I have a meeting in the afternoon. I need to know what time.
What time can you meet on Monday afternoon?
5?
For sure 5, even 4 p.m.
Okay. And we can't meet in the morning?
Well, no, I can meet in the morning, I don't know.
Can you meet in the, oh, you have dental.
I have a dental appointment.
And I have a doctor's appointment
9:30.
at 11.
At 11, no.
Okay.
So,
Sounds like Monday
Five.
at 4 or 5 is the only day, right?
okay. Monday at 5. Good?
Okay.
Good?
Yep.
Let's do it.
Huh?
Let's do it.
Okay.
Yes, good.
Motion to recess, please.
Mr. Chair, I move to recess this meeting until Monday at 5 o'clock?
Monday, March 4th.
Monday, March 4th at 5 o'clock.
Okay? Second?
Second?
Second.
Second, Michael,
Michael.
you want to second? You second. Okay.
Michael.
All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Okay, motion is carried unanimous. This meeting is recessed.
For Monday.